What's happening, Hoodlum Gang? Welcome back to my channel. It's your boy Hoodie from the Hood, aka your friend from that big O end. I'm back with a special guest. This was a long time coming. Me and the homie been chopping it up for a minute now. How long we been chopping it up?
Man, maybe a year at this point, a little bit less maybe, somewhere in that area, right?
Probably about a year.
8-9 months, something
Yeah,
like that.
somewhere around there. We've been chopping it up, and you frequent the city a lot, you know what I mean? And you know, we just been missing each other, but we finally, you know, got it together, homie. So without further ado, man, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people who don't know who you are.
My name is Annimeanz. I'm from Cudahy, California. That's in South LA. I'm a hip hop artist, you know what I'm saying?
All right, let's take them back to the beginning.
Entrepreneur.
Right. Let's take them back to the beginning, man. When were you born?
I was born in 86.
86.
Yeah, so this is the first time anybody know my age. Yeah.
And you was born in, you said Cudahy.
Yes, sir. Well, I actually was born in Huntington Park, but it's the community next to Cudahy, so it's like 3 minutes away.
Right, right. So what was it? Well, how long was you in Huntington Park before you moved to Cudahy?
Oh, just to be born.
Oh, okay.
I actually was raised in Cudahy my whole life, but I was born in Huntington Park, but it's the same shit.
Right. And what was it like growing up in Cudahy at that time?
You know, back to, you know, crack, a lot of heroin, a lot of prostitution. You know, Cudahy got a very bad reputation in LA, and it stands out because it's a very small city. So it might be smaller than Escondido. So it's actually, I think, 4 miles long both ways. So it's a very small city, but it has a very violent reputation and a you know, drug reputation, even to this day.
Right. So you growing up in Cudahy, like you said, you was born in, like myself, during the crack era.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's in full swing at that time.
Yeah.
What schools did you attend? What elementary school?
I went to a lot of schools because, like, you know, my mama was a single parent. You know, pops was independent. You know, all my life, give or take. So, you know, I went to Elizabeth Street, which is in Cudahy. I went to Park Avenue. I went to Heliotrope.
These is all elementary schools?
Yeah, all elementaries. I went to Southgate. I went to 117 in Watts, you know, because it's all in that area.
Right.
Man, I think I went to Maywood Avenue, if that's the name of it. I can't actually remember, but it's in Maywood. I think it's 54th. I went there. Yeah, man, we did a lot of moving.
It sounded like you bounced around a lot.
We did a lot of moving, you know, because, you know, we lived in hotels a lot at that moment in time, you know, and so that's just how it was, you know what I'm saying?
So, you moving around, well, first of all, you got any siblings?
Yeah, I have a younger brother. He's like 10 years younger than me. Yeah.
Okay. So, in your area, like you was telling me, Cudahy has a very bad reputation. So I'm assuming there's a big gang problem like the rest of LA.
Yeah. There's 18th Street at that time was the primary set there. It's not necessarily the case now. You know, it's kind of you know, that whole little area is a lot of things have changed. You know what I'm saying? Right. So but that was
things have changed, like as far as gentrification, or as far as like other gangs popping up.
You know what, I'm gonna be 100. It really changed because you know, the hood being the primary set there, it was a lot of violence. So a lot of the homies fell victim to, you know, either getting killed or all day, and you know, the homies used to put a lot of pressure on people there. So, you know, the local crews and all that always had beef. So it kind of, like, you know, it started to die out a little bit because I think the hood made way more enemies than they did friends. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it was just, you know, it just turned out like that type shit.
But is there still an 18th Street presence?
Yeah, it's always gonna be there. It just ain't as big as it once was. I'm talking about you know, when in the height of it, you know, it wasn't unusual to see 15 homies at the liquor store, and 20 homies at the 50-30s, and then, you know, down the street at the park, maybe about another 16, 17 homies, and that was on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? So it was so on lock at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Now, when, because I know 18th Street started like closer to downtown LA.
Yeah.
And obviously there's cliques all over LA County.
Yeah.
Do you know what year, around what time 18th Street migrated to that area?
Yeah, if I wanna give an exact date, I wanna say it was 72, 73. And I know that because my pops and my moms are of the first generation of that set right there.
Oh, they're from 18.
Yeah, my whole family is. It's my mom and my dad, and then on my mom's side, my mom had 2 brothers and 4 sisters, and then one of my mom's sisters, everybody's from 18, and then actually all of my mom's sisters had kids from dudes from 18. So then my uncles, so it was a whole family situation.
Right. Now, it's that military shit.
Yeah. They get ready for China. That's what's really going on.
Man, definitely. They better. Especially because it seemed like we starting it.
Yeah, well, the thing with that situation is
We're gonna get to that.
Okay.
Because I had seen you speaking on that in the other conversation.
Yeah.
All right, so 18th Street been there since 72. That's actually a long time.
Yeah, I want to say somebody from the west side came through. I want to say it was my older homie Weasel, and that's how that was created or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so when you're going to elementary school, I'm quite sure all the kids in certain areas think they're from that gang because they got family members. So right off the porch, you got it in your household.
Yeah.
Was you already a representative of your neighborhood?
I don't want to say I was a representative because when I first even got involved, I really necessarily didn't want to be involved. You know what I'm saying? But I literally just grew up like that. You know what I'm saying? Waking up and my dad was a real popular dude from my neighborhood. He got one of them solid dude reputations. Penitentiary audit.
So your house was the hangout spot.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I'd wake up and see homies from 18, 10, 20 deep partying in the kitchen. And, I'm sure people that follow me will hear me say this all the time. I've been burying people from 18 since I was 5 years old.
Right. What other gangs are in that area?
There used to be a gang called Live Oak Street. They're pretty much died out. Cudahy is probably the main rival. Well, is the main rival there. So they're like another dominant gang there. There was a lot of other little sets like Top Dollar Locos and DBA, but all those got eventually turned into 18.
Right.
And Maywood Locos, Chancellor Street, Walnut Street. One thing about Cudahy, why it was so violent is because these are all streets, and every single one of them streets was a gang.
Right.
And it
it's
starts
a small
at Walnut.
area. Yeah.
It starts at Walnut, a gang. Live Oak Street, a gang. Clara Street, a gang. Down the street on Clara Street, Top Dollar Locos. So it was just maybe about 20 gangs in this 4-mile radius. You know what I'm saying?
Now, growing up in that environment, was your family like hustling?
My pops was definitely hustling, but he was addicted to heroin. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much where the hustle was coming from.
Right.
Because I would there's a lot of little things I would do with pops. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But he was out there just hustling to do his thing, and mom's got kind of caught up in the crack shit. So I think where the hustling really came in is when I began to sell crack. At one point I sold crack in my life, so I kind of inherited that just from my hood at the time was like a hustling hood, which still is too.
Right.
So the main objective at that moment in time was to hustle and sell crack and shit. So I got involved in that. So.
Right. So you said at a young age you was helping pops. You was doing little stuff.
Yeah. I don't want to get too deep.
Yeah. Right.
I was learning how to make a fast dollar. For
right.
Sure, in a lot of little licks and boosting and a lot of shit. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm quite sure that probably led to being incarcerated. If not that, then something else.
Yeah, you know what? See, because at that moment in time, I'm still like 7, 8, 9 years old, running around, and I probably started really getting involved with the crack shit at about 12. So I would say like within the first year of being introduced to that hustle, I had already got arrested. I was already in juvenile hall for possession of crack and a firearm.
Now, what was that like hitting juvenile hall at that age and being from the hood that you're from, which is probably one of the most hated hoods ever?
And you know, just to be all transparent, it was scary, man. It really was, because it's one thing to be around all your homies and feel that love and that protection because you're so young,
right?
And still being involved in the sense, you know, but not, you know, you got your young homies, and then you got your teenage, middle-aged homies that are really starting to put in work, and then
right.
You got the 20-some-year-olds that are all the way in, done been to the pen, then you got the OGs. So, you know, when you're in that younger environment stage, you're not necessarily really, you know, active to that degree, but you're
right.
still putting it in, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But at the same time, because you're so young, you kind of have a protective field around you, if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you know, once you hit that juvenile hall or incarceration in general, it becomes a manhood test, you know. And even at that young age, you're forced to make that decision. So it was scary a lot of times, man, because I was not necessarily a big kid, you know what I'm saying? And when I got there, you know, I'm running into kids that are 15, 16, and really, you know, war-tested
right.
dudes.
They already been there. They,
you know?
they tripping.
Yeah, you know, they really full-fledged and shit. So it was scary at times, for sure.
Now, like I said, you being from 18th Street, being from one of the biggest hoods. Now, you know about the enemies in your immediate area.
Exactly, yeah.
Did you know about the ones outside? Had you been laced on that? Or was it new fools coming up from the valley or from the west side or south central, and they tripping on you and you like, what the fuck?
It was like dudes I'd never even heard of from San Fernando Valley, just all around the LA, California, you know, county.
Yeah.
I never heard of none of these sets. And,
right.
And they was full-fledged tripping because, you know, the thing about 18 is like, there's so many cliques, but these cliques are like gangs in their own right.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? So it might be like I'm from Southside, so Southside got about 8 cliques, and every one of them cliques is a pretty nice sized clique. So it would be considered a small gang. Right. So in their area, they're beefing with other gangs. So, you know, a lot of times I'll run into dudes and, you know, 18 is their worst enemy, but they're not necessarily my worst enemy.
Right.
So their hatred is up.
Right,
you know
right.
And they want all the funk. So it you know, it was hectic at times.
Right. So I'm guessing you was going in and out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And eventually you landed in CYA.
Yeah. You know, it was a process though. You know, I went from the halls, then I went to placement, and I made a mistake on
how
one of my
was placement
other interviews.
like?
And I forgot to mention that I was in Pride House. I started off at a placement in Pride called Pride House in Van Nuys, and I was there for about a month, and then I AWOL'd. And when I AWOL'd, I knew some dudes from South Central 18 that I had met incarcerated, so I eventually migrated that way. You know what I mean? Because it was an open invitation. It's all the same situation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I moved over there, and I stood over there for a little bit, and I was real heavy into selling crack there because at that moment in South Central, crack was the order of the day. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I really got involved in the crack shit at that moment in time. Yeah.
All right. So, and what specific part of South Central was you in?
83rd and Hoover, 84th and Broadway, all up and down Fig. You know.
Right. You was in the danger
You know, they
zone.
still that part of 18 still shares their set with Hoover.
Right.
So it was A Trey Hoover.
Right.
And you know, that made it a more intense war zone because the 18s and the Hoovers were very close to each other. You know what I'm saying? There'd be little minor scrimmages, I remember.
That's
you know?
everywhere though.
Somebody steal a bike, or you know,
right. Yeah.
Somebody take a customer, you know. And one thing I do remember was like I don't know if the dude is still alive, but his name was Chip, Big Chip from A Trey. And he liked to keep the peace, you know. Whenever people would be arguing, he'd come and check everybody, like, hey, you know, you motherfuckers share the same set and all that stuff. You know, like I said, it got real wild for a second because, you know, we're pretty much standing on the same corner, but just in crowds. So when their people, you know, when their rivals are coming, they're gunning out at everybody. So.
Right. There's actually a, it was like, you know, back in the days when they had those little, I want to say like gang series, like I don't know if the news was doing it.
Yeah, Fox 11, I believe.
And there's one where they go, there's like some apartments, and they over there, and there's some Hoovers outside, and there's some 18s. You can see the hit-ups all on the apartments, and they all outside. Just it's like back in the 80s.
Yeah.
It looked like that. Have you seen that?
I don't know if I've seen that particular one, but I've seen like a lot of.
I don't know what it's called, but it's popped up a few times. I've seen it a few times over the years, and some grimy ass looking apartments, and they just all hanging out.
Yeah.
Half of them probably look abandoned, and it's hit up. All on Hoover, 18th Street, and that was back in the 80s.
That's one thing about 18 and Hoover. For some reason, they've always shared multiple sets. I think it starts off in the 50s, you know, 5-4.
It actually started in the 40s. They had a clique over there. I don't know if they still do. I know it was a clique of 18 over there.
I think you're talking about the 5-4s, because that's all in the 40s and like in the low bottom area and shit. So
yeah, I know they was over there for sure. Cause the homie, he was doing an interview on Street TV, and he was saying how, I think by like his family's house, he used to come outside, and for years there was a big ass 18 on the wall.
If it's like in the Coliseum area, then that would be like the 5-4s. They was in that area.
Yeah,
they're still in that area.
All right,
been there the whole time.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think while he was giving the interview, you could see 18 like hit up on the back at Vermont Square Park.
Yeah. Nah, you know, 18, for the most part, always had a decent relationship with the black gangs that were around them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So, yeah, you was in, you said placement.
I went to the Pride House, and then I AWOL'd, and I was running around for a little bit. Then I ended up in St. John's School for Boys, and that placement right there was in Whitewater, California, and it was an old hotel. And it had all these dudes from Dago, from you know, Santa Barbara, just all these different places around California. And you know, that was one of the hardest places I've been to besides YA. And the reason why I say that was because there was minimal supervision there.
So it was pretty much banging.
Yeah, it might be like 2 to 3 to 4 staff a night, and we're talking maybe 200 rooms, and these rooms had anywhere from 3 to 4 people in them.
God damn.
So it was like, you know, Mexicans, blacks, occasional white boy, but it was really a Mexican and black situation. And the gangbanging was off the chain, bro, because, you know, motherfuckers was getting jumped in them rooms, getting beat up, pissed on, you know, motherfuckers. I think somebody got raped there one time. It was just a lot of madness going on, man. You know what I'm saying? And,
so,
yeah, man, for somebody, you know, for being that young, to see that type of activity, it was hard, man. You know what I mean? You had to really.
Did they put you in placement due to your parents being unstable?
Yeah, that had a little bit to do with it, but a lot of it mainly was about the crime, and you know, not being able to be supervised for like house arrest or shit like that. So the placement was pretty much the only option for me.
So how long was you in there?
I lasted at St. John's probably about 2 months, and I got the fuck out of there. You know what I'm saying? You know, I was young, so it was like, you know, at that moment in time, that's all I wanted to do was be in that hood. You know, be running around with the homies, and that's all I ever wanted at that moment. That's all I ever knew. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, when I had the opportunity to get up out of there, I was gone. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. So when did you hit? What year and what age did you hit YA?
I hit YA in 96, I think. 96, 97, I hit YA.
Oh, so you hit YA young.
Yeah, I hit YA like maybe I was 14, I think, or 15, somewhere around there, 14, 15, somewhere in that area. And yeah, I went to SRCC, and then from SRC I went to Paso Robles, and I touched down in the Pomo, which was the gang unit at that moment in time. And you know, once again, just manhood testing, you know what I'm saying? Very violent place, and you just had to be ready to go at any moment.
Right.
You know,
and now it's I know YA used to go to like 25 or something like that.
And yeah, man, you just had the best way I could describe it is you just had to be on go. because you know, the Mexicans got a lot of rules as far as the leva and all that.
Right,
you know what I'm
right. A lot of YA games.
And there was a lot of shit that could really get you fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
I heard that I had this conversation with the homie. He had a gang of homies been to YA, but I had a homie on the channel. Shout out to Crip and Chris. And I believe he said black people, we called them cases.
Case,
y'all called them levas, and
levas
I think
and case.
Yeah,
exactly.
cases. That's what we referred to motherfuckers.
Yeah. You're a case. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
That's what he was saying. He's like, nigga, I didn't want to become no case. You know what I mean?
Because you know those dudes was getting it, bro. I'm talking about like it was viciously being tormented. You know, I done seen dudes get their asshole taken. You know, man, I hate to speak on it like this, but there used to be dudes that were jacking motherfuckers off right there, you know, but by force though. You know, at this moment in time, when you think about it, they was getting raped.
Yeah, pretty much. That's like saying like you my bitch.
Yeah, so you know, it was a lot of shit like that, believe it or not. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like I said, you just had to be on go, man, or you was gonna fall victim fast to every and anything at that point. You know what I'm saying?
So how long was you on YA for?
I did 5 years in YA.
5 years, goddamn.
I actually got sentenced to 18-month commitment, but you know, anybody who's been to YA,
what a coincidence.
That don't make no sense. Huh? You know what I'm saying? if you went to YA and you came home on your date, you was a mark, straight up. There was really no way around it. There was no doing good there. You know what I'm saying? It was you had to do what you had to do, or it was over for. Period. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because you had to be turning it down. You had to not get into no
that
write-up.
was impossible.
Yeah,
and if you were doing that, then you was just a victim. That's just what it was. You know?
Right. So you ended up in YTS.
Yes,
right?
I did. Yeah, I was in YTS.
I heard a lot about YTS. I know it's for the older ones.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they was mimicking prison. But
yeah, you know, when I got to YTS, they didn't play the leva shit no more. That's one thing about YTS. There was no leva shit, but it still was there. You know what I'm saying? Like, because there was dudes that would be leva in Paso or in Dallas or Chad. You know, because I went to Chad for a little bit, but I didn't stay there long because when I got shipped out, the Norteños had pretty much, you know, I guess for a lack of better words, had ran the Southerners out to a degree. And you know, I don't think they didn't physically, like they ran them out in the case of like the administration was like, yo, there's just way too much violence here.
And that's what I heard they did to the Northerners in Nellis. It's not like they folded.
Yeah.
The administration was like, okay, enough of this experiment.
Yeah, it was just going bad, you know.
Right.
What was going on in Chad was like, you know, the Northerners had that shit on lock. So they had a lot of the plugs to the razors and box cutters from the trade area.
Right.
And the Southerners, it was hard for us to even get a footing because we was only getting shipped up there 5 at a time, 2 at a time.
Right.
So, you know, when you pull up, it was get off as soon as you get out of the door because, you know, you're surrounded by them. There might be 20 of them on the bottom tier because it's 270 buildings. And there might be 3 of y'all. And what you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Once again, this is, you know, fight or fall. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
You know, as soon as I pulled up, I made it out for like one attempted chow. We got rushed. We had to do our thing. By then, it was locked all the way down until they shipped us all out. And they shipped me down to YTS. And, you know, YTS, it was different in the sense that it was more grown. You know, everybody there was 18 and up.
But I heard YTS was racial. And I don't know if it was when you was there or if that happened later on.
It was and it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of relationships that you can forge with black dudes, and there was decent, you know, we had decent relationships, but you know, the rules wouldn't allow you to get too close to each other. Right. As far as the eating and all that. But there was still legitimate relationships that black dudes and certain dudes had because they'd been knowing each other for years at a time. Right. From Dallas to Paso to TS to, you know, so it's easy to kind of form, I guess, you know, modified bonds with certain people, I guess you could say. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
All right. So Is that the last place you went to as far as YA?
Yeah. And then I paroled, and then I was out for about 62 days, and I eventually ended up getting caught up in a shooting situation, which was a shootout, but I was the only one who got caught, the only one who went to jail. Yeah, so, you know, and
It'd be like that.
Yeah, then I ended up doing 7 on that.
All right, so now you hit prison.
Mm-hmm.
What's that like?
That's when it started to get racial. You know,
Right.
I'm gonna be 100 with you. You know, that's never really been my format, because I grew up around black people my whole life, honestly. But you know, when you're in Rome, you got to kind of do what they do. You dig? So it definitely got racial fast in the joint. You know, but I like to tell people like this: the divide lines in the prisons at that moment in time, in my opinion, and really, in reality, was really just to avoid the issue.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
When you really look at it,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
You know,
That's what it is.
you know, everybody has their own situation, so it's like if something goes wrong, you deal with your own people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Opposed to like, if something were to go wrong on the black side and they jump a Mexican,
Right.
It'll jump off. So in order to,
And then let's
keep
be
the
honest,
peace.
even with my people, y'all got some of the rules are similar.
yeah,
Y'all have a different program than how we program. Like, I can look at some of the stuff that y'all do and I'll be like, damn, I wish we had it together like that. But then on the flip side, I'll be like, I enjoy doing what the fuck I want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I enjoy not having somebody tell me. So it's pros and cons to it. So I can understand why a motherfucker would be like, well, shit, this how we programming over here. They program a little differently.
Yeah.
So there ain't no problems. We just gonna keep our distance.
yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
You know, and a lot of it, you know, with the Mexican shit, it's more about just structure, bro. Because you got to think, you know, you have all these criminals that are used to breaking rules and getting over constantly, and there's no other way to police them but with brutality.
Right.
You dig?
That's
So
the only thing. That's the only thing we understand is
anybody
violence.
understands
Right.
there. So, you know, in order to keep everything well oiled like a machine, you have to be hard. You know, you have to be vicious, and you have
Right.
to rule with that iron fist. And so I always hear, you know, especially in recent time where there's a lot of criticism of the Mexican program. I don't want to name certain organizations.
Right.
And you know, it's just a lot of people just don't want to really understand what that structure holds and why it's even there. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's not a it's everything is done by choice, bro. You feel me? You make a conscious decision to be a part of that situation
Right.
and follow those guidelines and those rules. Nothing is forced on you. But at the same time, you know, you do have to pick a side when you go to prison. That's just what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
There ain't no way around it.
There really isn't. You know?
And that's what, like, sometimes when certain things pop up within this YouTube world,
Yeah.
and it's like, we not on the yard, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean? Like, we not on the yard, like, so it's and on the yard is you. Hey, it ain't nothing but, nigga, you got to roll with this. We ain't on the yard, homie.
I think a lot of the shit that goes on YouTube, to me, it just
It's dramatic. It's content. It's entertaining. Then you got the trolls that they pumping it up. Most of these dudes ain't from the street.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. You know, a lot of the issues stem from the comments. People that really have no business in that lifestyle to even have an opinion about it.
Right.
You know, that lifestyle.
But you know what they'll do?
Is a secret society.
They'll watch this channel.
Yeah.
They'll watch this channel. They'll soak up game, and then they'll come in your comments talking to you as if they're street niggas.
Exactly.
And then they'll act like they from somewhere, like, now, and you can just tell, like, no, you're not, bro. You wouldn't talk like that.
You know,
and that's what they do. Like, they'll try to come correct you. They'll watch somebody who they feel like is more qualified or more seasoned than you, and they'll be like, okay, he said this, and since he's saying something different, I'm about to come over here and put him in his place. That's what they be on.
You know, and a lot of times I see a lot of the channels. I watch everything. You know what I'm saying? And I like to, you know, I'm a knowledge seeker. You know, I like to you know, I watch a lot of documentaries. I like to keep up on current events, you know, domestic and foreign. And I just, you know, history, all type of shit I like to consume. So, you know, I watch the channels and I know who's lying and who isn't.
Right.
And for the most part, a lot of them are lying, or they're exaggerating, or I could tell you ain't never been nowhere. You know?
Right.
I could give you an example. What's that swole white boy? Wes Watson, I think his name. And he talking about, yeah, you know, the Southerners wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, motherfucker, you crazy. That's not what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
It might have been a few individuals doing that because they was tripping out or whatever, or maybe they couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
But when he first started his channel, I was watching, especially him being from Dago.
Yeah.
I was tuned in, and then there was a lot of shit that I was just like, all right, okay. He figured it out as far as how to work this YouTube thing.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, you know, I don't really get caught up in that shit, man. And I try to talk. You know, certain people I reach out to, and we have relationships like me and yourself. You know.
Right.
And when we have the convos, I do my best to try to, you know, it's not a lot of the racial shit that's going on in the city is more really gang related and set orientated and turf disputes and all that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Somehow, some way, it becomes racial, but that's never really the nucleus of how it starts.
Right.
You know?
Nobody wakes up and be like, hey, let's target them because they this race.
Yeah,
exactly. It's gang stuff, which spills over to that. Because when you at war,
And
you don't give a fuck about nobody over there.
Nothing's off limits.
Yeah, even if it's your own race.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I know homies that done told me that they wish that they could throw a bomb into a certain apartment / projects out here. Bro, the majority of them people in there ain't even from that neighborhood.
Yeah,
but
I get it.
So if you don't care about people who look like you, you're not gonna give a fuck about somebody of another race if y'all going to war and they're killing your homies.
Yeah.
Like, this is what people don't understand. It gets to that point.
Yeah.
But once again, the trolls in the comments, and you know who's worse than the trolls, or they're pretty much trolls? The news.
Yeah,
the news people make it look worse than what it is, and they'll post like, hey, racial war or whatever, and then that makes people get more hyped up, like, oh yeah, that's what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
And that'll make them go out and go harm an innocent person, or go write some bullshit on the wall that's, you know what I mean, disrespectful.
You know, it's like even in Dago, you know, because a lot of people don't know, but a lot of my support in my career as a rapper came from Dago. You know, 95.7 was the very first radio station to ever play a record that I had on the radio, maybe about 5 years ago. And you know, another thing that people don't realize is Dago is like the hub for Mexican rap. You know what I'm saying? The biggest and most notable Mexican rappers came from Dago.
You know what's crazy? I didn't know that until I start really getting on YouTube and watching certain shit, and then I started seeing other people give Dago their props as far as the Chicano rap scene.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, you know, I would hear this shit. I would hear Little Rob, Mr. Shadow, whatever the case is. We knew these people. I didn't know they were that big outside of San Diego.
Oh yeah, you know, when I really started to focus on rap and shit, I did a lot of business out here. I had a manager named DJ Billy Knight, and he took care of me out here. And I did my first DJ meet and greet out here at the Dave & Buster's off the 8, I believe it is.
Yep.
Beto Perez was a big supporter of mine. It still is.
I remember hearing him on the radio.
Raymond T, another solid ass homie out here that was a big supporter of mine. And so yeah, Dago was the very first city to really show me some love and hold me down when LA wasn't doing none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? So,
now I want to get into that, but just real fast. So you did your 7 years?
Yeah, I did.
You
my
got
7
out what
years.
year?
I got out in I got out in the end of 2005, really 2006. Cause I got out in like December 17th or something.
Right.
So really 2006. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so first of all, what was some of your musical influences growing up? What inspired you to even pick up a microphone?
Man, you know, I grew up listening to a lot of the West Coast shit in the beginning. You know, Eazy-E, NWA, fucking everybody you could think of, even J.O. Fallon and all that. You know what I'm saying? But when I really began to take rap serious is when I discovered East Coast hip hop. And my favorite rapper today is Nas, and then it'd be 50 Cent. And that's when I really began to, I get infatuated with hip hop. You know what I mean? Because I just kind of loved the way they was rhyming, and it was different. It was lyrical.
Right.
It was
they rhyme schemes, the way they put it together.
Yeah, it's just
it took
something to make you think. You know what I'm saying?
It took for me to get older to start appreciating Nas and Jay-Z and and Wu-Tang and shit like that. Like when I was younger, I'd be like, fuck no. Yeah, there was individual songs that I liked by them, but I would never listen to an album by them. I was strictly West Coast. Besides 50 Cent.
Yeah.
When they came out, I was like, all right, I could rock with this.
The main thing that really drove me to consume that was, they talked about crack a lot.
Right.
And I'd had a lot of experience at that point in my life of dealing crack. So I could really relate to a lot of the shit they was talking about.
Right.
Because, like I said, I came from a hood that their main focus was hustling. And, at one point, the biggest dealers in the southern Los Angeles area came from the hood that I'm from. So, that was always just it was just something that was in my life, you know what I'm saying? And that's what really drew me to that, the stories, and just, the lingo and all that. It was something new, you know what I'm saying?
Now, did you start writing raps in prison, or did that occur when you got out?
I started writing the raps about 2 years before I came home, because my cousin, DJ Luss, he graduated from Music Institute, and he was already heavy into the game as far as just knowing producers, this and that. And when I paroled, he took me to Meech Wells' studio. And Meech Wells is a producer that did a lot of big records for Snoop Dogg. And I started recording there, and then I met Badass, rest in peace, right there.
Right.
And Badass was the first dude to give me a verse, you know what I'm saying? And at that moment in time, I hadn't rapped on no microphones and shit, but I was a seasoned acapella rapper, if that makes sense. Because I spent a lot of time in the hole when I was writing the rhymes.
That's what I was gonna say. Did that come from being in prison?
Yeah, and just reciting these rhymes and really having that East Coast hip hop in my head. So, when people hear me now, the first thing they say is Annimeanz sounds like he's from New York, because that's just the way my skill level evolved because of what I was exposed to. And, I was writing these rhymes, but constantly just perfecting them a cappella, you know what I'm saying? And one thing that I always had a gift for was being able to mimic the rappers almost to the T of how they rap, you know what I'm saying? I could rap a Eazy-E song almost to the T of how he does it. Maybe not the vocal pitch, but the pattern exactly on.
Right.
So when I began to write my own rhymes, I sounded like a real seasoned rapper before I ever really started rapping. You know what I'm saying?
So you said you get out in pretty much 06. How long did it take before you met Badass? That was the first song you did?
Yeah, we got into it immediately. The day I paroled, my cousin had a session set up.
Oh, all right.
So we
So he already knew that's what it was when you came home.
We slid down to Burbank, and he put me directly in the studio that day. And it was a work in progress. You know what I'm saying? At first, I was what's the word I'm looking for? I was intimidated, I think. And I didn't know how my voice would sound. And when I heard my voice, it sounded different. You know what I'm saying? We don't know what we sound like till we hear our voice. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it took me about 2 years to really find myself on the microphone. That's why, people that know me from my earlier work, I used to rap in this raspy voice. Even though my vocal tone, I like that, but I used to, you know what I'm saying? Because that was the order of the day in LA at that moment. You had Game, you had my man Glasses Malone. They had these deep, raspy voices.
They do. Yeah, they do.
You know what I'm saying? So I mimicked that for a couple of years. And I was getting some attention because I knew how to rhyme, but I knew that my raspy pattern wasn't being received as well because it wasn't my natural tone. So sometimes I kind of sounded like a Cookie Monster almost, you know what I'm saying? And when I finally got up enough nerve to rap in my normal tone was because I'd already been about 3 tapes in, mixtapes. And one good thing about that is I generated a lot of attention immediately. So DJ Ill Will, he discovered me, believe it or not. And he took me to Gorilla Black. And then I jumped in with them.
Right.
And So I started to meet everybody, man. I met Kendrick or K-Dot at the moment.
Right. See, a lot of people can't say they met Kendrick before he was Kendrick.
I'll tell you this, right? When I hooked up with Gorilla Black made an essay crew, and it was called Dollar Figure Essay, because that was his crew name, Dollar Figure. So it was me, it was my man Concrete. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a big social media comedian right now.
I probably got to see him.
Man, there was a couple of dudes actually that now, when I really think back, I'm like, wow, the life has took us in so many crazy directions, you know? And that record went viral. But at that moment in time, I didn't know what viral, nobody knew what viral was. We're talking like the first year of YouTube. You know what I'm saying? And they put that video on World Star Hip Hop.
06, 07.
Yeah,
around
like
there.
Ill Will had a plug to World Star Hip Hop, and when he seen the video, because we shot this video on a camera, and you got to understand, at this moment in time, people didn't have videos unless they were signed artists. So we had a dude that had a camera, and we shot this video, and it had Gorilla Black in it, it had Hot Dollar, it had a couple of famous big rappers, you know. And Ill Will was like, man, I need that video. I'm gonna send it to World Star Hip Hop. And you know, at that time, World Star Hip Hop wasn't World Star Hip Hop. You know, it didn't have the remember the top box and all that. It didn't have none of that shit. It was just a fucking website that had some videos there, and it just said World Star Hip Hop. That was it.
Yeah, I
no
remember.
ads, no nothing.
Yeah.
You know. And like I said, the shit went viral. I remember, I'll never forget that moment in time, because 211, he was signed to CTE at that time.
Yeah.
And he put out a video the same exact day we put it out. I think it was called something about On My Block or something like that. But we beat his video. You know, we just went viral. Boom. By the end of the night, you know, I was literally sitting there in my crib at the time, watching the numbers go, and it went from 1,000 to 50 to 60 to 100,000 views in one night. And when I woke up in the morning, we were already at like almost 250,000 views.
That's crazy.
And you know, but motherfuckers didn't know nothing about nothing. So, you know, we didn't know how to capitalize on that. You know what I'm saying? And now that I think about it, we could have did a lot of shit with that, but we just didn't know what we was doing, you know. And so that gained me a lot of attention.
Right.
And so there was a specific show at the Music Box, and I was up there with the Dollar Figure essays and the whole Dollar Figure camp. And a rapper comes up to me, a black dude, right? And he's like, hey, J-Rock. And J-Rock turns and he's like, hey, that's one of the essays I was telling you about the other day. He's with Gorilla Black in there. And I'm like, hey, you know, what's up? And he's like, hey, yeah, my name's K-Dot and shit. You know what I mean? This is J-Rock. And I'm like, oh, okay, what's up? We from Top Dog. Okay, cool, you know. And that's how I met them.
That's legendary.
You know, and then as I would see them all the time. Because, you know, wherever Black was, everybody, you know, Blue Division, TDE, the list goes on. You know, Doghouse, all these artists that we know, you know, are really not as far from you as you really think they are. You know, you just got to be in those circles. Right. And then you're going to see these motherfuckers on a constant basis, right? So I think at that moment I was just starstruck and just happy to be there. You know what I'm saying? I met Young Jeezy that night. I met Rick Ross that night. You know, it was a big old show, and Gorilla Black was on it, and it was Rick Ross, Trina, and like I said, every crew from LA that was somebody was there that night. So I met Glasses there. A lot of
So that's when you got introduced to Glasses.
Yeah, and you know, with Glasses was always a solid, humble dude, man. You know, and he took a liking to me, you know what I'm saying, for whatever reason. And I remember telling him, yo, you think I got a video? Because now I always wanted to rap myself, so aside from the group, I was willing to, you know, I was making my own records and shit, you know what I'm saying? So I hit up Glass like, hey, yo, you think you could come to my video shoot? Because at that time, Black had a barber shop on Rosecrans and Prairie. That was the Dollar Figure headquarters. And so he showed up and did my video and shit, right? So we just kept in contact like that, man. And you know, as I matured in the game, I started to learn the ropes, and I started to meet all these DJs. And my biggest tape was a tape that I did with Cali Untouchables, and it was called Birth of a Beast. Volume 2 actually, because Volume 1 is how I got discovered, so to speak, by Ill Will. He's the one who he hosted it. So when I created Volume 2, you know, this is fast forward almost about a year into it, so I have relationships with J-Rock. J-Rock was on the record, Glasses was on the record, Hot Dollar, Gorilla Black was on the record. So I had all these big time features on the tape. So I ran into Cali Untouchables, and they heard my shit, and they were like, yo, your shit is ill, like we want to do a tape with you. So that was the first big DJ coalition that touched me and really established me in the game, you know what I'm saying? And then you know, shit kind of went downhill with Gorilla, and, you know, as far as the group didn't, you know, it's very hard to be a part of a group because everybody wants to be the man.
Right.
And they had made me the president of that clique, you know? So, you know, there's a lot of other SA dudes in there, and everybody, you know, nobody wants to be up under nobody. You know what I'm saying? So it was always a lot of little scrimmages within our group, and it eventually just broke apart. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, I ended up going on my own, and shit slowed down a lot when I went on my own, and I was still making tapes. You know what I'm saying? Because I kind of knew the format now. I knew where to buy the tapes, where they were mad cheap. You know what I mean? I had a spot in Inglewood where I was getting like 500 CDs and jewel casings for like $100. You know what I mean? So I'd go there, buy all them discs, and then I bought a burner. So I start burning my own mixtapes. So I just go around the whole LA. I'm talking about everywhere you could think of. I met Nipsey like that, rest in peace. Showed up to his shop, right? And I remember dropping my tapes at Nipsey's shop, and Fats, rest in peace, because I had a relationship with Fats, rest in peace. You know?
Right.
We weren't like best friends, but we had a
cordial
minor relationship.
Right.
And I remember him looking at me like, yo, you gonna give these to us for free? And I'm like, yeah, man, you know, just give them away to people. But see, now that everything has transpired, I understand his mind state. They was selling shit. They was making paper, you know, they was hustling.
Right. So they sold your shit.
However that plays out, you know, but I was only about giving them away.
Right.
But they, you know, they were visionaries. They had the vision, you know what I'm saying? So when I think about it in hindsight, they was, oh shit, you finna give us these? Because they was selling their work, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So at what point, I know you was messing with Glasses, but
Yeah.
it was more so just on some, it wasn't necessarily, you wasn't signed to him, was you?
I eventually became a part of his label in I want to say 2011, right? I'd always keep in contact with Glass periodically. We chop it up, talk shit. And one time I called him, and I was like, he was like, man, what you got going on and shit? And I was like, man, I'm gonna be 100. The shit is really slow motion right now. You know, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm gonna be 100 with you. At that moment in time, the focal was to get a record deal at that moment in time. But I just, you know, being a Mexican rapper, and then being a Mexican rapper that was rapping the way I was just like a complete outcast almost, you know. Because Chicano rap was still very, very big,
right.
Very much alive at that moment. So, you know, I would try to take my tapes to where they sold Chicano rap, and they wouldn't take them. You know, they'd be like, this sounds like black rap. We can't sell this right here. You know, you got to go over there and put your mixtape next to the game. You know? So, you know, fast forward, me and Glasses, we having a convo, and he started telling me like, yeah, you know, I'm out the Cash Money deal and shit. You know, I'm gonna do my own thing now, man. Why don't you pull up to the studio and come fuck with me? So, you know, I took that invitation. I showed up, and you know, when I think about it now, I think he was more grooming.
Yeah.
You know, cause he fucked with me, but he didn't know me to that degree, and clearly he wanted me to be a part of what he had going on, but he wanted to see what I was about. You know, so that invitation turned into another invitation, to a point where I just became a regular figure there, you know what I'm saying? Just pulling up and really just learning. And
I got a quick question for
Yeah.
you before I lose it. You said that you pretty much got shunned by your own community because the rap that you was making wasn't like everybody else's. Now, what years was this?
this was all 07, 08, 09, 10,
Right.
11, 12. It really didn't start. It was more the rappers than the actual community, right?
Oh, they wasn't embracing you.
The rappers weren't embracing, and the rappers had the relationships with the vendors and shit, and they had it on lock. You know what I'm saying? So they just wasn't feeling it. That wasn't what was selling, and I'm just assuming that it just wasn't making sense to them. That wasn't what was going to sell. It was something very new. You know what I'm saying?
All right, now fast forward to today, where I don't listen to Chicano rap enough to say that Chicano rap is not still around or dead or whatever.
Yeah.
But it seems like nowadays a lot of the younger Hispanics are not rapping like that anymore.
Yeah, nah.
They're
rap,
more so rapping how
yeah,
you was rapping.
yeah.
So can we say that you was probably ahead of the curve when it came to
I'm
that?
definitely a pioneer, definitely an innovator. I wasn't the only one, but there was a small pocket of us.
Right.
And it was Rob's the one. He's from the Valley. He's doing his thing right now. It was Omar Cruz. He actually had a major record deal. Even though me and Omar don't get along, I'll still give him his props. Fuck you anyway though. Who else? Sonny Blue. He was early, man. $sign Gang. Z Guns. Who else? It just wasn't that many of us, bro, that
Right.
just had this evolved style. You know what I'm saying? And we were definitely the very beginning stages of what is now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I can't really find too many essays nowadays, especially younger. I'm not saying the older ones, they probably still do what they do. But the younger ones coming in, they're not sounding like Little Rob and all that. That thing is kind of like,
it's just evolution, bro.
yeah,
Just straight up.
yeah, it's just not what it used to be. You know what I mean?
Because everything changes. I'll tell you a funny story, right? And this is how I know I'm a pioneer in this shit. I'm not just somebody who's giving myself that title, right?
Right.
2016, I was working a radio. I was working a record at radio. Funny story, right? So I get a DM from this guy, and he tells me, "Hey man, I like your shit. Your shit is dope. It don't sound like no other Mexican shit. I want to collab with you." I'm gonna be 100. At that moment, I was feeling myself. You know what I mean? My main goal was to get a record on the radio, and I was establishing that. So I just, I had somewhat of a chip on my shoulder, and I felt like I need to get paid for this shit, Because really, I was just following in the footsteps of the dudes that I seen before me, Glasses, all them. They would get records on the radio, and they were charging people, and they were getting paid, So I gave this dude a number, and he never hit me back, right? So fast forward some years later, there's a dude named Little Weirdo. And I'm like, dog, this dude's hot. I'm going to reach out to this dude, see if I can get a verse. So when I go to the DM and I reach out, he's the same dude that had hit me, and I threw him the price. Right?
Shout out Little Weirdo.
Funny
man.
story, right? So, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, but I say that to say that's how I know I'm a pioneer in this shit. Because somebody that's established like that, a young dude that's doing this thing,
Right.
back then was reaching out like, yo, I dig what you're doing. I want to fuck with you. Let's make a song. But, I guess I didn't see the vision, But shout out to him. He's doing his thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, shout out to Lil Weirdo for sure. And hopefully y'all can still make that happen.
Yeah, I at this point,
As a matter of fact, Lil Weirdo probably gonna see this, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he will, man. But yeah, he'll remember that whether he talks about it or not. It's just part of the story of my journey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, that's definitely dope. So I be seeing you on Instagram, man. You drop like these. I don't want to call them freestyles. I know they call them freestyles nowadays, but they be obviously written. You know what I mean? But you drop those, and I believe, I don't know if I seen one. I don't know if you follow me or if followed you off of one of your freestyles.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but I was like, this motherfucker gassing, homie. That in my head, like, I like bars, I like hip hop, I like the bullshit too.
Yeah.
But I always can appreciate a lyricist, homie, no matter what race, no matter what coast they from. So when I seen you spitting like that, I was like, okay, yeah, he got something going on.
Yeah. Those are actually actual songs that I have. So what they are is just the first verse and the hook of the actual song. And so I put them out there so people could go look for them and the songs so they stream.
That's actually a good marketing tool.
So that's how I got the idea from seeing people freestyle, and I was like, you know what, I got so much content, I got a big catalog,
Right.
I didn't necessarily start getting attention until pandemic is when I really started to really see some attention. You know what I'm saying? And I fell back for like a whole year. So I'm barely really getting my feet back wet now, but in that time, I got about like 8-9 different tapes, street albums, mixtapes.
What's the one that I listened to? I think you sent me one of them.
Oh, I sent you my new shit that hasn't been put out yet. It's called Make Crack Great Again.
Was it that? But it was about a year ago.
Yeah, it's been about a year since I've been recording.
All right, for sure.
Because I'm gonna be 100, man. I started touring after a while, right? I got this record on the radio, and I started touring. I ended up coming up on a budget. I got 100,000. So with that 100,000, I jumped on the road, and I started paying a radio indie, which was a really bad idea at the time because I was behind at that moment in time. I went to the pen. I went to the pen in 13, and then I came home in 15. But in 13, I was all in with glasses at the moment. So, the order of the day for Mexican dudes was to get records on the radio. Now, fast forward, when I came home, that was no longer the play because Spotify was in now.
Right.
So, I got this budget. Boom, we start investing in radio. We start printing a merch, American Dope Boy, and I start hitting the road. Now, the biggest problem I start running into was like, man, this is a really good record. How many views you got on Spotify? How many streams? I didn't even know what the fuck Spotify was. So, at that moment in time, I'm really hustling backwards. I'm doing something that was already going out of style. Basically.
Right. You had a good idea. It was just the wrong era.
Yeah, I'd missed the bus, so to speak, right? But, as long as you're putting in that work, you're going to get something out of it. So I started to, get a name. People start to fuck with me. And before you know it, that's where it was. And pandemic came, and then that's when the music really started to saturate because, I guess people ain't really have nothing else to do but to find shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I started to really the shit started to saturate now. It started to marinate. From there on, and then around last year, in the beginning of last year, I think I just been kind of like, I just was exhausted already, man. It had been almost 10 years of constantly recording, constantly putting it out, videos, and not receiving the looks I was expecting, and all these different things, and it got heavy. And so I kind of fell back, and my son moved in with me, and I just kind of started raising him, and slowly but surely, the music started to fall behind.
Right.
And I went through a bunch of different little situations, and then I decided to get back on the horse about a year ago, kind of around the time we met, and so that's what you heard was the new music that I'm creating. Because, I just felt like I needed to really take my time and reevaluate and recreate myself. And, so that's what I've been doing. And now I'm, getting my feet wet again. And, by the grace of God, because of my skill level, I haven't been outdated yet. Right. Even though I'm an older dude.
Yeah, it definitely don't sound outdated.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because my flow was never, my flow is barely catching up to the people now.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's like, that's why you can hear me with any one of these young boys and I'll run them to the ground.
Like people who never heard you before probably would think you're just now rapping like that, but saying you've been rapping like that.
Yeah,
You
it's
was
Back to
doing
the
that
Future at
before.
this point.
Yeah. So you got a what's the project coming out?
It's called Make Crack Great Again.
Why that title?
You know,
I mean, I know, but they don't know.
Yeah, you know, back in the days, you know, people would be like, "Yo, that's that crack shit," or you know, "A motherfucker got crack." You know, that was the way to say
Or
it was
dope.
Yeah,
Yeah. Same shit.
It's kind of like that, and you know, I'm a Trump supporter, so I thought that was dope. You know,
Right.
I took the slogan "Make America Great Again." I said, you know, make crack great again, motherfucker. You know, make lyrics good again. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Now, explain the. Well, you don't have to explain, but you said you're a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
Now, what made you get into following Trump?
Just really being like I said, I'm well versed in like current events, domestic, foreign, and you know, he wasn't a politician first off, you know,
Right.
and he was coming with raw and uncut shit,
Right.
and he was really telling the truth, you know what I mean, about a lot of shit, and you know, I know a lot of Mexican people, well, not even a lot of Mexican people current day, because 61% of his Mexicans support him. It's a 60% Mexican vote at this point, right? And I know a lot of people were mad about the you know, the border being closed and all that. But you know, like I always say, you know, the thing about us is we're still Americans, right? Like I'm a Mexican and native man that's an American.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I am Mexican, but I'm not from Mexico. So this is my country, right?
Right.
So I understand what's going on and how this country is in a very big debt, you know what I'm saying? And how the more people we take in, the more actual harm we're doing to ourselves because of the economy and the way things are going, you know? And people don't want to hear the real and the truth, but it's very important to be documented here, because the documentation allows you to be able to work here as a legitimate citizen. And you know, it's all a machine, because when you work here you can pay taxes. The taxes is what helps the country thrive.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And when we don't do that, we're taking away from the country. You know, we're taking away from our way of life. And that's why there's so many homeless people. And that's why, you know, it's crazy, because homelessness is down in the rest of the nation 10%, but in California it's up 31%.
We got like half of the country's homelessness.
Well,
Damn near.
But that's what I'm saying. In the rest of the country, it's down 10%. In Cali, it's up 31%.
But do you think that's because people are moving to California to be homeless in California?
I don't know. Is that a thing?
It might be. I don't know. I'm just saying that this ain't a bad spot to be homeless.
I really think that it's bad management, man. And it's all these different programs and stuff where we're not necessarily we're taking out of the pot, but we're not putting back in. And you know, it has a lot to do with I would say greed, you know, on the owners and the renters parts, where they just want to take, and you know, a lot. You know what? Let me rephrase that, because I was watching this program where they were saying the average person in California has a job and can work, but they're in between for some reason. Like they may have left a abusive relationship or something like that. And these are the people that are homeless. Most of the people that are homeless actually have jobs and shit, but for some reason they're just not able to find housing and all that. So you know, it's a lot. It's a lot to do with that. There's so many different elements. I know for a fact that was one of them. I can't name off every single one of them in unison and shit, because I be smoking a lot of weed and shit.
Right.
But yeah, you know.
So, what else you got coming soon?
Right now, really, I'm just working on the music. You know, I'm finna put the music out. Shout out to JLM. It's a distribution company that I signed with. That's a really dope company, man. They got a lot of history with a lot of Bay Area artists. They put out a lot of old Bay Area rappers like Looney Corleone, Spice One is signed to the label actually right now. And they just, you know, they know how to market independent artists.
Right.
So the owner of that company reached out to me, and he was like, "Yo, man, I seen you on IG. I really love your music. You know what I'm saying? And I would love to help you out and get you known or heard, rephrase." And like I said, you know, I was in a peculiar place at the moment, and you know, he offered me a situation, and I needed that at the time, so I took it. And the first record I gave him was with me and Blue Bucks Clan.
Oh, you got a record with him?
Yes, sir. And he put that out.
You gotta send that one to me. I ain't heard that.
Boom, that shit shot to the moon. You know, it was my biggest record at that point. We did like 250,000 streams like the first few months or something like that. And that was big for me. You know, I know there's artists out here that'll do 250,000 in a month. You know what I mean? But that, like I said, that was big for me. And it took about like 3 to 4 months. And we just started putting out these records. And every one of these records on Spotify started to pick up. You know, and before you know it, you know, the numbers on Spotify fluctuate, but I've pretty much been consistently at about like 45,000 listeners a month for about like the last year almost. So I've already surpassed 1 million streams, my first million in my whole career. So I'm definitely proud of that. You know,
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, man. And
that's how I felt when my channel had more than 1 million views. Like,
yeah, it's like, yo,
I'm like,
this is what's
man,
up, you know?
yeah, I'm doing something here.
It's dope to be appreciated, man. You know, and finally get that recognition.
Right.
That,
and it just make you want to go harder.
Yeah. And that's what really motivated me to make the album, you know, because he was like, yo, you know, you need to give me some records, like your shit's picking up, like let's put out an album. And I was like, all right, but I was still kind of like hesitant because at this moment in time, I'm still not used to people helping me because I never really had the help, you know what I'm saying? So I'm still kind of like taking it at face value almost. You know, he wants to help me, and yeah, I done did this much on this record, but you know, this shit could end at any moment, or what's the kick? You know what I mean?
Right.
And my guy is really looking out. You know, if I need something, he's sending it and all that. So I said, you know what? I'ma fuck with it. Fuck it. Let's do the album. So I start recording the project, and you know, we're pretty much done. I'm waiting. Shout out to my man Rated TG, my engineer. He's the original engineer from Blue Division. You know, I always kept my same relationships after I left the camp. I you know, I didn't leave on bad terms with Glasses. So I was able to keep all them relationships. So pretty much everybody that does my music is the same people that were at Blue Division, and we're still pretty much intact. You know, I went on my own at this point, but you know, he's mixing down the records. Then we put out another record with my man Flight Mob called Back on My Shit, and that shit just recently went viral. Because we put that record out about 9 months ago. And for some strange reason, about 2 months ago, that motherfucker just started going.
And that's the thing, you just gotta push it out. It's the same with my videos. You gotta push it out, and you never know. Something might catch one day. For some reason, something you said in there, maybe somebody clip a little part, because people do that, put it on their channel, and people can be like, let me go check this whole video out. It's the same thing. Your music might end up on TikTok or something. Somebody who like your music, make a video to it, and all of a sudden, it blow up. So you just got to keep on working.
So you know, that's what happened with that record, Back on My Shit, and we just hit, like, we're on our way to another million with that record. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it tripped me out because it was a late bloomer. You know, we put it out about 9 months ago, and for some reason it just took off. So you know, we're doing pretty decent right now. The numbers, those videos that you're talking about, they did a lot to help the buzz. Because they, you know, I'm getting all kinds of views on IG right now, people following and all that. So, yeah. This is a perfect time in my opinion.
Right, I was gonna say that. Well, not to cut you off, but let the people know where they can find you.
Oh, you can find me at Annimeanz. You pronounce that Annimeanz, and that's everywhere. So IG, Spotify, TikTok, Facebook. It's all Annimeanz. I know people got a million pronunciations for it, you know, Annimeanz and all kinds of different
anime.
Shit. Yeah, you know, just Annimeanz, man. Just don't try to pronounce it. Just say Annimeanz.
Right.
Yeah.
But shit, man, I appreciate you coming through, man. Like I said, it's been a long time coming.
Yes, sir.
We should have been did this. I really appreciate it. Anything else you got to say to the people that they don't know?
Yeah, man, you know, I appreciate the opportunity for sure, man. You know, I watch your videos and shit. It's a dope platform, so I thank you for giving me this opportunity.
For sure.
You know, another thing I like to put out there is that, you know, I'm not necessarily, you know, at this point in my life, I'm a gang member. I'm not a gang banger, right?
Right.
So, you know, I like to let people know that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not out there killing people and shit. You know, this is just my story, and I tell it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a music artist at this point, and that's what I do. You know, I'm a hip hop artist, and you know, shout out to all the young dudes that are doing it. No hate on my behalf. I know that there's always a lot of bickering back and forth between young and old and all that. That ain't my play. You know, I want to see every Chicano get their just doing this music shit, because I feel like we're a big part of it to a degree. You know, we've been a very big consumer of purchasing hip hop, and you know, we've supported it a lot. So I think it's our time to get our shine. You know what I'm saying? And I salute everybody that's doing it and taking it farther than I did, because at the end of the day, their efforts are helping me to get known because of the shit that the storm they're creating. You know
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, homie. Well, like I said, appreciate having you, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Hoodlum Gang. I'd love to have you back again in the future.
Man, let's do it, man.
Especially after your project come out. You know what I mean?
Nah. As soon as I put it out, we'll touch down and we'll get a little bit more into the political shit and all that.
Right, for sure.
You know, I like to get all my facts straight and shit, because sometimes, you know, when I start talking, I'll be going, and sometimes I'll be like, I have a bad habit of mispronouncing shit sometimes, or saying something and be like, fuck, that wasn't what I meant. You know what I mean? So I'll be a little bit more focused on that area. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, homie.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Yep. All right, Hoodlum Gang, that'll do it for this one. Until next time, I'm out.
Yes, sir.